Big question for me is I've been playing this game for, 20 years now, plus a few months. And, it's like, how does WoW stay relevant? How did this one game stay relevant for this long? And it's like, yes, there have been expansions, and that's one sort of easy answer to it. Um, but the game itself, it feels like an expansion in WoW feels different than like releasing a Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what it feels like in my head. And part of that is, I think, because the the persistence of your characters is a big part of it, right? And hang on, my dog is eating something. Okay, cool. He was eating a roach bait. Great. Um, Also, I'm so bad at playing Shaman that I had to make a weak aura to remind myself to cast Ghost Wolf because I keep just fucking running across the world on my feet like an asshole. Anyway, so it's the persistence of the characters, but I think that's just one part of it, and the persistence of the world, and that's another part of it. And uh, it's not the only thing though, right? Because now we've got all these versions of the game. We have WoW Retail, which has progressed for 20 years. We have WoW Classic. We have WoW Classic relaunch. I don't know what counts as Classic Era anymore because the game client says one thing, but I think that's a different thing. We have the hardcore version of the game. We have Classic Cataclysm, which is about to become Classic Mop. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like they should re-release all the expansions at least to Legion and maybe more. Like maybe like not up to like BFA, but Legion was amazing. I would play Classic Legion for sure. I would play Classic WoD as well. I really liked Warlords of Draenor. Um, but that's the thing. It's like it's the same game, but it's different, and they keep it going. They keep it just fresh enough while also revisiting things just enough. Oh my god, this is annoying. Um, and what I mean by that is, holy shit, this is a nightmare. I'm gonna take a potion. Uh, yeah, what is this? Okay. Also, I hate this. How am I supposed to deal with this? Like, how does a caster deal with this? And they ate that. What the fuck? Oh my Jesus. Okay, let's. No, wrong one. Get out of here. Earthbind. We're out. This was stupid. I completely forgot what I was saying. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Like, they changed the game, right? But they keep it the same enough. And so, in Cataclysm, we had gone out to Draenor to Outland in that timeline. Then we had gone back to Azeroth, but into Northrend. So there was like a little familiarity there because uh, you at least started back in your normal capitals, right? Um, but then you were off in this other land, but the other land was still Azeroth. And then in Kata, we need that guy? No. In Kata, we come back to regular Azeroth, but it's like different. Not too different, but just different enough, and different in a way that's like kind of a lot of quality of life improvement. If I'm being honest, like the splitting of the Barrens, I think is a great move. And then we go to Mop, and Mop is going to be its own land again, right? And a cool little story that goes along with that. It was like the back of a turtle hiding in the shrouds that were uncovered by Deathwing. Um, And then I forget which came next. Was Draenor next? So we're like back to Draenor, but it's like a different version of Draenor, right? And then Legion is like, and so we're back on Azeroth, but it's like this whole other thing. And but they keep finding ways to reincorporate stuff that's familiar into the stuff that's new. And I think that's a big part of it. And so if you're a new player, like the game mechanics are such now that in retail you can get in the game and play, and you don't have to have 20 years of knowledge and experience to get in there. So if you're a new player, they got the crummy time, they got you sort of play through the last expansion in quest mode or whatever. Um, but you can kind of pick up anywhere, and the crummy time stuff is great because you can go back and experience any timeline, which I think is awesome. And but it's different than like classic, right? Because it's still the modern game and the most recent version of any quests and things like that. But if you have been with it this whole time, there's a lot of new stuff and there's a lot of familiar stuff to keep you grounded and keep you like feeling like there's continuity, like you're playing the same game. And that's cool. And like there's a lot of stuff about retail that I don't love. We've talked a little bit about how I guess I do actually feel like flying ruined the game a little bit, even though I do like flying. Um, and the super transactional nature of everything now, where it's just like pop in, you do group finder, you can do raid finder, you can queue up for whatever. Bikora. Nothing is like you don't have to be in a guild, you don't have to have a group of friends. You can completely solo the game and still do group content. And
Yes?
for
Hmm.
certain people, I think
I
that's
have a
great.
feeling I know what you're.
Like an
We all have our
accessibility of the
reasons to
game standpoint,
justify why
I
we
think that's
act the way
awesome.
we do. The
In every
real
expansion,
question
I'll
is,
log in and
what brings a lowly person to the
play through the
deepest
story,
reaches of the
play through
barrens
the
to speak to
campaign
a
just to
woman
see
who
what's what.
obviously has no
And
concern for her own well-being?
they've even
I'm
got
willing to bet
the
we
follower
both know
dungeons
the answer
now,
to that.
which is cool. I wish they would
To
add those in
find
for all
understanding and
past
gain
dungeons. I'm sure they
acceptance
will
from it,
soon.
you must seek out
Um,
only the purest forms
you
of
can even
honor.
do like the
As you
raid
fetch
on
the
story
samples,
mode,
take note of
where
your
you're just not
surroundings.
even,
Be aware of the
it's
creatures that
you just
rely
kind of
on the
see the
water
last
that
boss and
protect it.
do whatever.
See how it
And
affects
if you're just there
forests
for the
and
story, which I
oceans.
usually am nowadays
Witness how
in
the
the
very substance that
retail game,
sustains life will force
that's
creatures
an
to take
awesome experience.
lives.
Where am I supposed
We
to
shall
go?
start with a simple
Build an empty
task.
brown water
Down
skin
below my hut there is
in
a
the
pond with a
watering
precious
hole.
liquid.
Oh, yeah.
Fill this skin with it and return to me.
Bitch, you're right there. You could have come down and got this. That's, I love quests and WoW. It's like, go 10 feet over there and do something because I'm lazy as hell. What are you mad at? Is this your water? Get out of here. I'm stealing your water. Honestly, I don't know who has the ancestral claim to this water, so I'm just doing what this lady told me because you don't seem to speak common. And that is a wildly problematic position, I suppose, but this is the world we're in, the World of Warcraft. So I think that's the cool stuff that retail has going for it, and that's why it feels still fresh after all these years. And yeah, they changed game mechanics a lot, and some of the systems that they've brought in are not great.
What can
Um,
I do? I
all the
thought
borrowed
something
power
might have
stuff
gone
is
amiss if you tried to
honestly
take water from
tedious.
the
Like it was
pool.
cool the first
It is a
time, and
pity
then
the
just
Quill
got
Board do
worse.
not realize that all
Um,
living things are tied
the
together. That their greed
talent
only
trees
perpetuates the pain and suffering of
are
their people.
insane.
How
Like
much could they accomplish if
what's
they were
coming
to
in
put
mop
their differences aside
with the
and their
like
clans came together?
it's
Again,
like what
a pity, but
five
more
rows.
than
I'll throw up
likely
a
a
picture of it,
boon
but
for
like
the
five
other
rows and
races
like
of the
three talents
barren.
across, and you get one every
Long
15
ago,
levels.
I followed some
I
companions
think
into the
that
hills
was too
Bradford
simple,
Hills.
too
We defended
simplistic.
ourselves from some tenacious
Use
humans
the
who made their
Ghost Wolf,
home
dude.
there, and we
Uh,
found ourselves in a small
I
town
think
the Forsaken had taken over, Terran
something I
Vale.
really love
It
about
was there I
Classic
found a most peculiar thing.
is,
In the center
and
of town was
I
a
like the
small
revamp
well of
of the
fresh
talents
spring
that they
water.
did
I'm
in
not sure the plagued citizens of the town
um,
even realize its value.
what's it,
It's a small holy
Burning
vestige
Crusade.
in an unhallowed city.
But
Bring me a sample of
the
that water in this water skin.
being able to get a talent every level feels really satisfying. Like you level up, you get something. And honestly, having to go to your trainer is like it's yes, it can be tedious, but it's also kind of satisfying. Like, oh, I gotta go back and learn this new spell. And like I can see a lore reason for, all right, so we can make a distinction here, and I'm rambling and I know, and that's fine, but there's only gonna be two people watching this, and you're free to do what you choose. Um, Ghost Wolf. The Am I supposed to like use this thing? Where's that digger claw? Digs up a silphid egg. I don't know. What was I saying? I am so sorry. This is an unhinged video for 9 in the morning. I'm like waiting for enough people to come on that maybe I can tank a RFC on my druid because I want to do a video on that and I want to tank something. And I talked about doing that in my shaman healing RFC video. And then I have literally put it off for like 2 weeks. I'll log in and I'll wait and I'll look around and I'll see like groups wanting a tank and I'll chicken out and I won't do it. So today I'm committing to doing it. But the talent, like getting a talent every level is great. Getting spells every 2 levels feels manageable because you're not going back to a trainer every time you ding, but it happens enough. And I like that like some of them are not that interesting or like not worth buying maybe. Like I'm not gonna get frost resist totem until I'm 60. I don't. What am I gonna do with that? Um, and probably not stone skin totem. I mean, it's not like 35 silver or whatever, but I got a mount to save for. Um, but then I like that you can look forward to things, and I can see a lore argument for okay, I'm out here in the world and I'm using lightning bolt and I'm killing monsters, and so maybe I learn how to use lightning bolt better, and that could level up automatically. But new skills you've never known before, I think it makes sense to go back to a trainer for
Although
that.
we
And so
call
I
this
don't
land the
love the
Barrens, one
system
who
that they
knows
have
where to make
now
this place teems with
that I think
life.
is
You,
also in
like the
Kata or maybe
Thunderhawk
comes in
from
Unmop.
Reedcrown, you have
Um,
bested every foe we
I
set you
don't really need a
before and have done so with strength, courage, and
44.
honor.
Well, I don't need
But
either
your
of these, but
path,
that's fine.
adventurer,
Um,
continues. In fact, you will find the
don't tell
true
me that's an
hunters
upgrade. That's not an
forever
upgrade.
strive, forever walk their path with the same
I
pride you have shown me. Now it
Why
is
the
time to
Thunderblast?
move on. You have hunted the beasts of the Barrens. Your spirit is strong, but a hunter must always be prepared. A
Hunter
true
must
hunter
always be
can stalk
prepared.
prey
That's
on
real
any
talk.
path. Mountains and swamps will not
Like
sway,
if you've never
nor
learned
even
a
the
skill
sea.
before, how would you just pick it
Hurry,
up
my sister.
and have it added to your
She
spell? Like
hunts
I
the
hate
great
that.
water beasts along the
So
coast. She will
that's
be
whatever,
your
right? And
teacher,
like I like this
and
talent
this
system. The
will be
retail talent
paramount
system
in
is
your search
insane.
for
Like you go
her.
back
For
to
the
getting some
Barrens
talent
cast her
points every
spell
level,
upon
and that's cool.
humans.
But now like this, I can parse this, and I can sit like yes, there is probably an optimal spec for every or like an optimal talent loadout for every spec in the game, depending on what you want to do. But there's also flexibility, and one of the big problems with the classic talent manager or talent like system from a min max standpoint is there's a lot of fluff. There is just a lot of shit you don't need, and that's especially true. Like the classic example of that is obviously like warrior, right? And how fury prot is where it's at. A classic now because deep prot like prot is kind of useless past the second tier, like you get last stand around here, right? Um, and otherwise, the rest of this stuff kind of sucks. Um, and so I get it, but that's also cool because you do get to like make cool talents. So like you're not locked into the protection tree because you want to be a protection warrior, and so you can roll up, tanking as arms with mortal strike and sweeping strikes at just a couple of points in prot. You can tank in-game dungeons like that. You can tank them as fury as well. Arms. You probably could tank some raids as arms too, but I think from a pure min max standpoint, you're going to want to do fury for the threat output. But you get choices, right? So with some of the inefficiencies also comes choice, and that stayed relatively true even through Wrath of the Lich King. Like they revised the talents and stuff, and it became more and more optimizable. But talk to Chesmu. Deposit your blood shards. You trying to sim into the bank? All right. This rested XP game is comprehensive. It's kind of crazy.
Peace, friend.
Wow, it did it for me.
We
Oh,
shall
that's pretty
meet
amazing.
again.
Okay. Am I really gonna hang on to those blood shards for fucking ever though? I don't know.
As the wind on the
I'm gonna
plains,
sell some shit here.
welcome here. May the eternal
So anyway, point is, retail is too complicated on a lot of those systems, and there's just like a lot to know. On the other hand, it's great for being like super casual, and I also understand that the in game, like the high end in game, the rating in retail, the easiest raid in retail is just infinitely harder than anything we had to do in classic or even TBC. Um, the first real difficult raid I think in WoW was probably Ulduar. Ulduar was a massive step up in difficulty. Like original Nax had like very few guilds cleared it in on the first go around. I think a big part of that was just like not really knowing the game and not really knowing how things worked. Uh, and like there was a time factor as well. Like it came out at a weird time, and Burning Crusade was coming out and whatever. But uh, like mechanics wise, not like probably the most difficult thing was maybe I want to say like Resuvius. You know, figuring out how to like deal with that in the best way. This is always like go talk to someone in the tent 32 yards away. Like we're literally in the same building. Did y'all not have coordinated and then told me what I need to do? Alright. Getting my Wailing Caverns quest. Okay. Going with crosswords.
They are now servants of the taint seeping.
Yeah, Resuvius was tough because you had to, first of all, you had to even figure out that you had to mind control his ads. Best way to do that, taunt rotation, whatever, right? There were some mechanics, Thaddeus, the polarity shift, but that's like pretty easy to figure out once you try it and you wipe once and you're like, oh, I get it. What made that probably harder was we didn't really have weak auras back then, but even KT was like, okay, kick Frostbolt and like deal with the ads and get out of the fissures, like not that much to deal with. Deal with the mind control. Ulduar was tough. Ulduar had legit mechanics. Ulduar had hard modes, which was really interesting the way they were implemented.
Even now their faces
Yeah,
haunt me.
Ulduar was cool.
Defeat the leaders and bring me their
All that to
gems,
say,
and the barons may again
why does
know
the game stay
peace.
fresh? I'm
Go,
back with that.
adventurer. You will find them
I think it's fresh
lurking deep
because
within the
in
Wailing
retail,
Caverns.
there's kind of something for everyone, depending on how you want to play. Like, you want to do group content, it's pretty easy to do group content. You want to solo and just see the story, it's pretty easy to do that. You can gear up yourself to a pretty high level, just doing stuff like delves. Now, delves are cool. Actually, I really like the delve system. But also, like, high-end rating is a significant challenge. I can't say anything about the PvP game in retail. I haven't really PvP'd in any serious way since I think Wrath the first time around. Um, why does Classic feel fresh? Classic feels fresh sort of because of nostalgia, right? But also just the simplicity. Just like getting in here, grinding away, killing your mobs, flying around, experiencing the world. Like we've already talked about how the best part of this game is the game, the seeing the world, the being out in it, running around on your feet or on your ghost wolf paws or on your ground mount or on your next level ground mount. And like that's the kind of stuff that's lost from the modern game. And I think that's why Classic feels fresh, even if you didn't come up with Classic. Like if you didn't come in with vanilla and you've only ever played retail, let's say in the last 4 or 5 expansions, Classic would be a foreign experience to you. And that feels fresh, right? It's like an entirely different game. And if you did and you're just experiencing the nostalgia aspect, and classic feels fresh because while there's a lot of stuff that I miss from various incarnations of the retail experience, like I'm not gonna lie, I do like I've got such a love-hate relationship with Random Dungeon Finder because it is so much easier to find a group that way, especially if you're not a tank or a healer. But on the other hand, it takes the community out of it, and I think the the situation we've got going on right now with the classic anniversary realms where there's just like three mega servers instead of a bunch of smaller servers that are going to have a chance to die out, like a random dungeon finder could kind of work in this configuration. Oh, it wants me to go to Wailing Caverns. I already have these quests though, right? Yeah. Okay. I don't want to do Wailing Caverns just yet, so I'm going to I don't know. What am I going to do? I was in Thunderbluff. I could have talked to this guy. That's annoying. Um, yeah, I feel like a random dungeon finder could work on a server like this because you'd still be in the same community. No travel to the dungeon. Like it's just strictly finding a group and getting matchmaking done. Um, because that part of it's annoying. But for the most part, this feels fresh because it's so stripped down and it's just WoW at its essence, right? And even the progression classic that goes through, back through the various released expansions, it feels good. Like I don't know, I'm getting to experience. I'm gonna play Mup. At first I was like, I'm not gonna play Mup. At first I was like, I'm not gonna play past Wrath, uh, for sure. Well, at first I was like, I'm not gonna play past classic vanilla. But then once they announced Burning Crusade, I was like, well, they'll probably do Wrath, and Wrath was my favorite expansion of all time, so I figured I'd do that. And now I'm like, you know what? I'll ride the train. I'll ride the train at least, like I said, until Legion, because it's gonna feel fresh again. Because I don't remember everything about. I didn't remember everything about Wrath or about BC. Like I remembered enough, but it wasn't like yeah, there were certain quests and certain things. It's like okay, yeah, I've done this before. This feels super familiar. But like I didn't do all the raids the first time around, and so that's nice to get a chance to experience that this time around if I want. Um, I didn't do the High Warlord grind either time around that it was available, and this time around with the change to no decay, I think I might take a stab at it. Um, so yeah, I think that's why WoW is still a playable game and still very popular after all these years. And the other thing that I want to point out is that WoW gets something right that very few other games get right, and that's what I'm about to show you here, which is just your character and how he moves in the world. So, all right, here's my guy, right? Now check it out. I'm gonna do this. Look at his head turn. He's like still looking at the person that I'm pointing at, right? And that is such a simple, like this strafing move, so many games get wrong. And there's like a level of detail to the characters and how they interact with the world that just, I don't know, it tickles me. It makes me feel like I'm a part of it. Um, and any other MMO, like, I don't know, I've heard people complain that WoW feels too cartoony or whatever, but like, especially this classic version of the game, and don't get me wrong, retail WoW is gorgeous. Like the art is beautiful, but I think that this version of the game is also gorgeous. It's so immersive, and it's just me in my little clown suit of found armor running around killing boars and being a part of it and feeling like I'm in the world. And that, I don't know, that'll always feel fresh to me. That'll always feel good. So who knows? I may play this game for another 20 years. I used to feel kind of bad about that. I used to look at like my slash plate and be like, yikes. Um, but now, I don't know. I'm into it. Okay. Thanks for listening to the ramble. Bye. I am gonna try to tank that Wailing Caverns. No, Rage Fire, and then Wailing Caverns.